First, though, I think it is appropriate that the list of those women that had a major role in saving the Spalding Allen collection 25 years ago be named aloud, kind of like the traditional lines of the village crier. It took cooperation and commitment to never lose focus to make sure the tribe reached their goal to collect the necessary $608,000 needed to save the collection within 6 months. I think this is an amazing feat of accomplishment. Women who helped save the Spalding Allen collection in 1996 are Carrie Ann Andrews, Sue Bushell, Julia Davis, Lillian Disney Miller, Julie Kane, Lorna Marsh, Tisa Matheson, Diane Malikan, Marie Merrick, Pam Palmer, Lynn Pinkham, and Vera Sonic. If for some reason your name was not mentioned and you were among these ladies caring for and protecting the Spalding Allen collection, please let me know as soon as possible and we will add your name to this list of honorees. And thank you for your service. We meant no disrespect. In planning the march, the committee quickly came up with the obvious person to lead us in our effort for recognizing Nimiipuu women's ancestry and roles today. I want to introduce a person that comes from a traditional home and upbringing. She and her family are held in high regard. She has been for many years dedicated and committed to women's rights and to women's issues. She and her professional team have worked long and hard to be part of the healing process for endangered women and children fleeing to a safe and healthy sanctuary. To the arms of the staff in the Uyet Kimti means new beginning. Under the leadership as director, they together empower the families in their care to regain their self-determination and self-reliance. Please help me to give a warm welcome to Karee Picard.
Good morning. Thank you for all who have joined us. Again, my name is Karee Picard. I'm the program director for Uyet Kimti New Beginnings. My Indian name is Uyet Kimti, or that's my program name. My Indian name is, I can't remember it now. But anyways, as we come together, we as women, Ayats of the Nimiipuu, need to recognize and promote our own culture, our own way of life. We as women could look at one another and see ourselves, our sister, our mothers, our relatives. We as Ayats from all nations are the givers of life. We as Ayats with Mother Earth are the source of life. We as women are the heart of our communities, as our itats, our mothers, our ayas, our aunties, our katats, our alats, and even our pokis, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, are sustainers of life. As a short note, I have a daughter, a later in life daughter who's now 13. And out of respect for family, we refer each other as our relative terms. There's no cousins. We are brothers, we are sisters. There's no term for cousins in our language. So my 13-year-old daughter was raised with my sister Camille. And if you know my sister Camille, she has quite a few stories. But this isn't a story I want to share with you. As my daughter was raised, she knew my sister Camille as Aya. Just that relative term. All of Camille's children, all of my nieces and nephews call me Aya, which is aunt. So with my 13-year-old, all these years, she called my sister Aya Tut. Tut means spank in Nimiipuu. So my sister Camille, to my daughter, my 13-year-old, she was always Aya Tut. And so coming forth, now that she's coming of age and we honored her into womanhood, she finally realized what Ayatut meant from learning Nez Perce language within the school. So I feel that's something we're raised as family members, is using the relative terms. We, as Nimiipuu women, are natural gatherers, and we are responsible for feeding the people. I was raised practicing as a gatherer. My mother raised us all in our cultural ways, which made us resilient. Now, we talk about historical trauma and what the effects it has on Native people. My mother is a living symbol of what historical trauma has done. My mother was able, she participated in a relocation, and she relocated in Spokane, Washington at the moment with 4 children, with no means of support, other than every weekend, counting her pennies, we'd made track and we'd go back to the reservation and we'd participate in our longhouse, our Walasset. And I feel when I did my thesis with the University of Idaho, historical trauma, a couple of years ago, historical trauma was just becoming a major thing. People were talking about it. It was a conversation. And so I did my thesis on resiliency. What did my mother do to help us survive in both worlds? And that's what she did. She kept us grounded to where we were able to practice our cultural values. Other than Walasset, we went to Longhouse, we gathered foods. So that's how Mom made us resilient in where we are today. All of us have at least a minimum of 2 years of education. We're all successful. I had 2 brothers who were in law enforcement. My sister Camille was in fisheries, and now she has turned into law enforcement with the Spokane tribe. And then now current with my position, I was actually, in my former life, was a special ed teacher, middle school special ed teacher, until I got into this position like 6 or 7 years ago. So we as women are to be honored. And like I told you before, my 13-year-old, when she started her monthly passing, we honored her. Like several of our other young ladies in our family, we brought her out. She's now a woman, and that's an honoring. That's nothing to be ashamed of. To where now my 13-year-old, she's getting her vaccine shot next week. And she said, I'm going to become a Titan. And I didn't know what she's talking about. So she feels that if she gets the vaccine shot, her blood's going to turn green. And then she started talking about her monthly periods. Way above off subject here. So our family, as being Native women, without the ability to give life and sustain it, our world would return to darkness. The return of the Spalding Allen collection is a return of life, our culture, our stories of families to be passed down. We as Ayats, Nimiipuu Ayats, as women, hold the role of preserving our values with creating garments that express our tribal identity. The creation of floral designs to reflect our surroundings. And me as being raised beading, I've been beading and sewing since I was in high school. And by my Pilaket, relative term, my Uncle Phil, I always had a hard time in creating floral designs. And me being a perfectionist, I couldn't do it. And finally I struggled, took it out, and you're not supposed to take it out. You know, you're supposed to go forward with beadwork, with our teachings. And he said, no one flower is the same. And that's what I was trying too hard to do, is make the floral design the same. We as Native women, as Ayats, as we bead, we document stories. We document events with our regalia. A misplaced bead to mark a significant event, a death in a family, a birth in a family, or even the use of black beads. At one time I asked my plucket, who was my mentor, why don't we use black beads? And it was believed that's where smallpox came from. When they gave us supplies, is the black bead held the smallpox. We use, when I look at my plucket's beadwork, all the blues he used, he said that was to do the mountains and the skies. And that's to show the value of our land. We as Nimiipuuites create images that meant to honor our male members' value. The use of elk teeth. For those who hunt, know that elk only have 2 teeth that we use to adorn our regalia. And so it was passed on. I was told that young men, as they go out hunting, that they are to save their elk teeth. And once they're married, their mother is supposed to make the dress of all the elk teeth for their new wife. My plucket also taught me and showed me, because I asked him why some outfits, like on his regalia, he always puts red on there, like right here on the chest. How come the red? And he said, he explained to me that he always puts a red triangle in front of his regalia to show war. He felt and believed that our warriors against the whites, the non-Indians, always wore red, supposedly, and that shows a warrior when they put red up here. Now, to honor my plucket, and his English name is Phil George. His native Nimiipuu name is, I'm drawing blank, Lapialut. I'm going to share a poem that he written for his nanat. And his nanat is my mother. My mother was the nanat, the eldest of 11 siblings. My plucket was the second eldest. My plucket, Phil George, has a mass variety of awards, national awards for his poetry, published. Actually, here at the park, they had a poem of his, Season of Grandmothers. Right now, here at the park, I think they're displaying his salmon poem. But the poem I'm going to share, I had to ask my mother permission to share because it was written especially just for her as being his nanat, his oldest sister. My uncle had limited means, and as a gift for my mother's birthday, he presented this poem to her. And we all know things are more special if it's made for us rather than something store-bought. It's closer to our heart. So I'm going to share this poem with you. And I'd like to also take note and share with you that my mother's not here because as a gatherer, she's actually in Wallowa digging. And so that's why she's not here supporting me today. No one loves you, just like mother through the years. We love you, we know you care. All your laughing brings a tear. Nanat Lee, we love you dear. Treating us so tenderly, you were Nanat first to me. I am the one who named you Lee. No one loves you more than me. I'll say this for all to hear. We're the fawns, you're the deer. Feeling safe when you are near, we have nothing to fear. 57 years to me is proof enough for all to see. Katzet is aging gracefully. No one loves you more than me. And this was actually written in just before her her 57th birthday, which is like 20 years ago. And my mom's always held this to her, and this is the first time publicly I'm sharing it with you, with her permission. Now, explaining the nanette status is a role older sisters have in taking place of the mother, helping the mother. And so my mother held this role, and she still does, even after she's 70 some years old and her siblings are in their 60s, she's still nanette. And I retained this role with my siblings. I help my mother raise my siblings, like my brother here, Kenny Berjou, Tautoi Berjou, Ayatut, Camille Berjou. And my daughter has also retained the status of being nanette to all her cousins, her younger cousins. She's the oldest granddaughter. So I like to conclude now in these teachings is we as women are to be gazed upon as being sacred. We as women are responsible for our tribal nation's survival. We as women of the Nimiipuu Nation and other tribal nations would expect no less than equal protection from violence experienced by all women from all races. Our sacredness and self-worth should not be negotiated, including the zigzag of jurisdiction issues. The race of the perpetrator should not be a factor in prosecution. We, as people, need to come together, stand together, walk together to heighten awareness, not to be silent, to empower. We as women are sacred. Walk together, accepting our past and with our present. Thank you.